Breaking. King Charles just made a move so decisive, so constitutionally earth-shattering, that it has sent absolute shockwaves through the very foundations of Westminster. And what happened behind the gilded gates of Buckingham Palace is about to tear the carefully constructed narrative of Keir Starmer's government into pieces. Downing Street is reportedly in a state of total paralysis. Senior aides are scrambling to kill the story, and the British public, kept in the dark for too long, is waking up to a reality the establishment never wanted them to see. Stay with me, because what I am about to reveal changes the entire trajectory of this administration. Before we go any further, hit that subscribe button. You need to be here when the rest of this story breaks. And trust me, the legacy media is already working overtime to spin this into silence. Here is what just broke. Within the last 24 hours, King Charles III executed a calculated, unprecedented maneuver that effectively completely undermined Keir Starmer's authority on the global stage. This wasn't a ceremonial gesture. This wasn't a polite disagreement. This was a direct royal intervention into the machinery of government. Palace insiders confirmed just moments ago that the king has quietly but firmly drawn a line in the sand regarding a key pillar of the government's new agenda, signaling a breakdown in the relationship between crown and state that we haven't seen in centuries. The political establishment is an absolute freefall. Let me be clear, this does not happen in the script of modern British politics. The monarch is supposed to be silent. The monarch is supposed to sign on the dotted line. But King Charles just refused to play by Starmer's rules. And the timing, it is devastating.
Just as Starmer attempts to project strength and unity to the electorate, the king has exposed the cracks in the foundation. He has signaled to the world that the Prime Minister does not have the full confidence of the state's highest institution. And Starmer, he is reportedly furious. Multiple sources inside Number 10 describe a prime minister in a state of visible shock when the news of the palace's maneuver landed on his desk. Witnesses say the atmosphere in Downing Street shifted instantly from routine management to crisis containment. Starmer demanded immediate lines of communication be opened with the palace, only to be met with a deafening, terrifying silence. But here is the brutal truth Starmer refuses to admit. The king sees what the politicians ignore. The king is looking at the long-term stability of the realm, while Starmer is playing short-term political games. And right now, the monarchy is aligning itself with the mood of the nation, leaving the prime minister isolated on an island of his own making. The panic inside the Labour Party is palpable. Leaked reports suggest that senior strategists are terrified that this royal signal will open the floodgates for a public vote of no confidence, not in Parliament, but on the streets. If the king doesn't believe in the direction of the country, why should the average voter? That is the question haunting the corridors of power tonight. One insider, speaking on condition of anonymity, admitted that the team was blindsided and that there is no protocol for a constitutional rift of this magnitude. They prepared for economic headwinds. They prepared for opposition attacks. They did not prepare for the crown to step off the sidelines and silently judge the legitimacy of their governance.
But then, the situation becomes even more volatile when you look at the public reaction. The story is already leaking out onto social media, bypassing the gatekeepers of the mainstream press. The British people are sensing a shift. They feel the vibration of something massive happening beneath the surface. For months, there has been a growing sense that the government is drifting, detached from the reality of daily life. And now, this move by King Charles acts as a lightning rod for all that frustration. It validates the suspicion that something is deeply broken at the heart of Westminster. The silence from the palace is louder than any speech Starmer could give. It is a deafening vote of no confidence that echoes from London to the furthest corners of the UK. And this is only the beginning of the unraveling. The sheer scale of the panic inside Westminster cannot be overstated. We are witnessing a system that is not just straining, but actively fracturing under the weight of its own incompetence. Labour's internal communications, some of which have been described by whistleblowers in the last few hours, reveal a party that knows it has lost control of the narrative. They are no longer driving the bus. They are passengers in a vehicle careening off the road. Starmer's inner circle is reportedly obsessed with finding out who leaked the details of the palace friction, launching a witch hunt instead of addressing the fundamental crisis of authority they now face. But the leak isn't the problem. The problem is reality. The problem is that the king's move has exposed a vacuum of leadership that Starmer cannot fill.
Working-class voters, the very people this government claimed to represent, are watching this power struggle with a growing sense of vindication. They have felt for a long time that the political class treats the country like a laboratory for their unpopular experiments. They feel ignored when they speak about their communities, their heritage, and their future. And suddenly, in a twist no one predicted, the monarchy, often dismissed by the modern left as archaic, has become the only institution that seems to understand the gravity of the threats facing the nation. By distancing himself from Starmer's frantic agenda, the king has aligned himself with stability. He has aligned himself with the continuity of the nation itself. And for Starmer, that is a nightmare scenario. That is when the media machine kicked into high gear. You can see it happening in real time. The legacy outlets are scrambling to frame this as a minor procedural hiccup. They are bringing out the constitutional experts to explain why this is actually very normal and why there is nothing to see here. They are desperate to normalize the chaos, because if they admit the system is breaking, they admit their own complicity in propping it up. But the public isn't buying it anymore. The disconnect between what people see with their own eyes, a prime minister rattled, a king making independent moves, a country on edge, and what they are told on the evening news has never been wider. This gaslighting attempt is only pouring gasoline on the fire.
And here is what makes it worse for the Prime Minister. This isn't just about domestic politics. This is about legitimacy. Authority in Britain relies on a delicate balance between the elected government and the permanent state. When that balance tips, when the crown signals unease, the government loses its moral mandate to rule. Starmer knows this. He is a lawyer. He understands the mechanics of power better than anyone, and that is why he is panicking. He knows that this isn't a policy debate he can win with a clever argument in the House of Commons. This is a question of trust, and the king has just indicated in the most subtle and devastating way possible that trust is eroding. The whispers in the tea rooms of Parliament have turned into shouts behind closed doors. Backbenchers are asking the questions the cabinet refuses to answer. Is the government secure? Does the Prime Minister have the backing of the state apparatus? Or are we witnessing a soft decoupling of power? The fear is that Starmer is now a lame duck, presiding over a government that has been quietly vetoed by the highest authority in the land. The momentum is shifting away from Downing Street at a terrifying speed. And the establishment knows that once that authority is gone, it is almost impossible to claw it back. They are watching the polls, they are watching the streets, and now they are watching the palace with bated breath, terrified of what the king might do or refuse to do next. Consider the magnitude of what this means for the average citizen. For decades, the narrative has been that you must accept whatever Westminster decides, that the technocrats know best, and that cultural or national concerns are secondary to the globalist agenda. But King Charles's move has shattered that inevitability. By breaking the protocol of unquestioning assent, he has legitimized the feeling that the current direction is wrong. He has implicitly given permission for the public to question the competence and the motives of their leaders. This is the moment the spell breaks. This is the moment when the aura of invincibility that surrounds the Prime Minister evaporates, revealing a man out of his depth and out of time. The betrayal felt by the ordinary person is now being mirrored by the institutions themselves. It is not just the palace. There are rumblings from within the civil service, the security apparatus, and the military. Quiet signals that faith in the current leadership is collapsing. They see the same polls we do. They see the same anger in the towns and cities. And they see a prime minister who is more concerned with media management than national reality. The system is protecting itself. The organism of the British state is rejecting the virus of incompetence. And Starmer is standing alone, realizing that the levers of power are no longer connected to anything.
But then, look at the reaction from the establishment's defenders. They are attacking the very idea of tradition, attacking the monarchy, attacking the unwritten rules they usually claim to cherish. Why? because those rules are no longer serving their interests. As long as the system kept the populist energy suppressed, they loved the system. But the moment the system, personified by the king, checks their power, they turn on it. This hypocrisy is on full display. They are revealing that they do not care about the Constitution, they care about control. And right now, they are losing it. The mask is slipping, and the face beneath is one of pure, unadulterated fear. This is a moral expansion of the crisis. It is no longer just about who is prime minister. It is about who owns the country. Is it the temporary occupants of Downing Street, or is it the people and the historic institutions that represent them? The king's move suggests the latter. It suggests that there is a red line that cannot be crossed. And for the millions of people who have felt betrayed by broken promises on immigration, on economy, on sovereignty, this is a moment of dark hope. It is the realization that they are not crazy, they are not alone, and that even the most powerful figures in the land share their deep, unspoken anxiety about the future.
The signals of political collapse are everywhere. You see it in the nervous glances of cabinet ministers during interviews. You hear it in the stuttering, defensive answers from press secretaries. They are trying to hold back a tide that has already breached the seawall. The narrative of steady leadership is dead in the water. What we have now is a government in survival mode, fighting a war on two fronts. One against the public they abandoned, and now one against the institutions they thought they owned. The legitimacy crisis is total, and the most dangerous part? They don't know how to stop it. They cannot fire the king. They cannot spin their way out of a constitutional rebuke. They are trapped in a cage of their own arrogance. The countdown has begun. This is not a story that will blow over in a news cycle. This is a structural fissure in the British political landscape. Every day that passes without a resolution, without a restoration of confidence, the pressure builds. We are looking at a future threat that goes beyond an election loss. We are looking at a fundamental realignment of power. If the prime minister cannot command the respect of the head of state, he cannot govern. It is that simple. And the sharks are circling. Rivals within his own party are smelling blood in the water. They know that a leader who has lost the palace has lost the mandate of history.
And here is what makes the coming weeks so dangerous. A wounded government is a dangerous government. Starmer will try to reassert authority. He will try to clamp down. He will try to distract. We can expect sudden policy announcements, manufactured crises, perhaps even attacks on the monarchy itself by his surrogates. But it will all be noise. The signal has already been sent. The damage is done. The British people have seen the king hesitate, and in that split second of hesitation, they saw the truth about their government. They saw a regime that is hollowed out, fragile, and terrified of its own shadow. The cliffhanger we are left with is chilling. What happens if the king refuses the next request? What happens if this private friction becomes a public standoff? We are entering uncharted territory. There is no map for this. There is only the escalating tension of a system that is tearing itself apart. The establishment is praying for silence, praying for apathy. But the eyes of the nation are wide open. The silence of the palace has started a roar in the country that will not be silenced.
So I have to ask you, do you think Keir Starmer can survive this? Do you think the king's move was a warning that the system is finally breaking? Or is this the beginning of something even bigger, a total reset of British politics? The establishment is terrified of your answer. They are terrified that you are starting to see the game for what it is. But the pieces are moving, and for the first time in a long time, they aren't moving in the direction the elites want. This is far from over. In fact, the real storm is just about to make landfall. We are watching history collapse in real time. The next move belongs to the people. Will you accept the narrative, or will you demand the truth? The king has made his move. The system is shaking, and we will be here, watching every single crack as it widens.
If you want to know what happens next in this unprecedented crisis, if you want to be ahead of the lies they are about to tell you, you know what to do. Share this. Talk about it. Because the one thing they cannot survive is the light of day. Stay tuned. The silence is about to get very, very loud.